Good morning, everyone, and welcome to 2023. Okay, it's not just 2023 now, but welcome to season 10 of Gather for Her and our first episode in 2023. Gather for Her is a powerhouse masterclass series exploring what it means to be a relational leader in these unprecedented times of global change. So you're in the right place with the right people, because I know you've dialed in because it's a new year and you're asking these questions as well. These conversations that we're offering here are here to illuminate hope, encourage possibility, and challenge you to make the shift from individuated top-down leadership to heart-centered and more relational, more human. My name is Tina Overbury, or Tina O, and I'm your moderator. Although in this episode, I think we're all kind of moderators, hey, gang? I want you to know that I'm an ally of secular heritage, and I'm currently living as an uninvited guest on the traditional, unceded, and ancestral territories of the Squamish people. I'm grateful to play, create, and do my best to steward the land where I rest my head, which is Nequelaquam, also known as Bowen Island. And I'm really grateful to be in circle this morning. And if you're here on Gather, we may look like a bunch of boxes, but we're actually in circle. And I'm grateful to be here with Kelly Beattie, Sharon Marshall, and Charlene SanJenko. And not with us right this moment is Christina Beattie, as well as Janet Mohapi Banks, who is joining us this season along with Kelly as our hosts. This is a live conversation, so we encourage you in the chat here on LinkedIn to introduce yourselves to us. We want to know you, and introduce yourself to each other, and let us know the lands from where you rest your head. And if that's new to you, we just invite you to explore that and be awkward and human and try. So thanks for being here. I'm going to pass to Sharon to start us off with just an introduction of you, and then we'll pass to Kelly and Shar, whoever, and let's celebrate 2023.
Thank you, Tina, and welcome everyone. Happy 2023. My name is Sharon Marshall, and I am one of the Indigenous co-hosts of Gather for Her. I come from Treaty 6 territory in Edmonton, and I am grateful to live, work, and play on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Snuneymuxw and the Snuneymuxw First Nations of the Coast Salish people here on Vancouver Island. And I am looking forward to 2023, as I hope each and every one of you are. And I will pass to our dear friend, Kelly Beattie.
Thank you, Sharon. I'm thrilled to be here and really starting us off. I know I'm looking at 2023 and momentum just keeps coming up for me, and that's the word that's really sticking with me lately. And so I think that's my word, and we're here to just continue that and build momentum for each of you that is with us today, whether you are live or listening later. And I hold great respect for the land that I am really proud and blessed to call home, where I live, work, and play from Southeast Saskatchewan on Treaty 4 territory. It is the traditional lands of the Nahiawak, Anishinaabe, Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, and home of the Métis Nation. And so just thrilled to be joining you today. And in this discussion where we're going to talk about building that relational leadership. And for those who know me, it's all about heart. And so bringing that into this conversation today as well. So thank you, Shar.
I love that, Kelly. You definitely bring heart into wherever you go. I'm Charlene SanJenko, and I'm super excited to be welcoming you, hosting you from the traditional, ancestral, and unceded lands of the Squamish people here on the beautiful Sunshine Coast. I'm a First Nations woman born in the Splatcheen community of the Shuswap Nation. And 2023, wow. If you asked me in 1980 about 2023, I would have said like Star Trek time or something. So I actually can't believe we're here. And I'm excited to talk about what that means intentionally for us as we kick off a new year in pretty unprecedented times. And one of the things I'm most excited about with Gather for Her is it is an opportunity to meet for regular, consistent conversation that allows the story to unfold between and among a pretty dedicated community of change makers. And I'm really curious where the story wants to go for us, with us, and among us, like a river in 2023. Yeah.
That's a great question. Why don't we start with that? Because, like why, in this whole season, we're inviting purpose into the space. So let's start with that. Like, what do you think the purpose of Gather for Her is? What do you think now? Like, what is it now? I mean, 10 seasons ago, it was to gather. It was simply to gather and remember in a time when, it looked like the world was falling apart. Just as the pandemic hit, we needed a safe place to share and share resources and just connect. And now we're 10 seasons out. What does it mean for you now? I'm still ruminating on it. So I'm going to pass to whoever's got it. It's alive for them.
Well, I'll jump in and just say what came to my mind is a canoe. Gather is like the canoe. It's a place for us all to hop in and try to figure out how we're going to. Because you all have to. I'm sure when you first jump into a canoe, we're all trying to paddle this way, that way, and we're paddling our own way, and then we figure out what each of us has to offer, and we start to paddle together, and we go on our journeys and through the tributaries, and that's what comes to mind for me.
I could pop in here. I think, there were those times where we just needed that connection, like you said, Tina, and I think that's still there. And for me, Gather is about creating that connection and learning, each and every session, whether it is in the forum of the live or the following week in conversation. That's what I love about it. It's about the conversation and bringing a diverse lens to the topics we discuss, and allowing that to flow. Shar, you've talked about the river and sharing the canoe, just allowing that to flow and really learning and building awareness from each other in experience and growth. And I'm really excited about that because I think it offers lenses that perhaps we weren't previously capable of getting, right? And I think that this forum brings in such a diverse group of individuals and ideas and lens that allows anyone from anywhere to connect into and grow from.
There hasn't been one Gather session where I haven't learned something. There hasn't been one out of the 10 seasons. There hasn't been one. I mean, it's just been, and some more than others. It's been, it's a weekly feel good pill, basically. Did I take my pill this week? My Gather pill.
We've actually changed a bit of the language of it when we introduce it now, Sharon. We're actually calling it a weekly or bi-weekly masterclass in relational leadership, done in a conversational kind of way. But yeah, I haven't left any of them without learning something. And I think the thing that I'm really kind of in a really, it feels juvenile actually, but not like bad, just like young kind of energy way that I'm excited about. It popped into my head that I remember being in high school and being in choir. And I was one of those devoted choir kids. And I didn't know how lucky I was then, which is kind of like where I feel right now. Like I didn't know how lucky I was because I was in this choir with like 5 other really like choir change makers, if there's such a thing. And we were all devoted. Like we had anyway, you get where I'm going. And at the end of 5 years together, we literally could be in any room with anything going on, and we could tune into each other, making sound or not, and be able to sing together. And I didn't get, I just thought that's how life was until life happened. I realized, well, that's not how life is. And I feel like Gather for Her does that too. That the community that is gathering here has been together now for a little bit of time. And there's people now that I know I could be in a room with you with everything falling apart or exploding in fireworks, and I could hear you and you could hear me. And that's special, and that's time in. So I'm excited about the new people we're going to meet, and more of that sort of, almost, it feels like almost innate knowing of each other because we have time in relationship.
And in that, it comes to me, it's ritual. And what is so important sometimes in growth. And there was a period of time that, just my work took me away from, some of those conversations and being a part of them. And I really, really missed that conversation. I missed that ritual. It was a part of spirit and who I was. And there was a craving, right, to come back to that and have that circle of knowing, that circle of connection. And I think it's that community that everyone is so desiring to be a part of in a different a way. It's that, that humanness that's created in it.
One of the things that I find so fascinating about Gather for Her from a media lens for a minute, the roots of Powerhouse were all about being able to mirror back to a change maker their full potential. Like I see you, I hear you, I honor you for all of who you are, and I'm going to hold space for that for however long is needed until you fully see it for yourself. And isn't it interesting that Gather for Her has been this journey of, virtual journey where people literally have to look at themselves on a screen, unless you choose to change up your Zoom options or whatever, and be held in a space to be able to, have conversations, to see and be seen. So on an individual level, I think it's really been a critical link in the very fabric of what we've always tried to be at Powerhouse, is that amplifier of leaders and change makers and creatives. And what it's also pushed into that I love is that deeper listening of where are we being led through the collective voice? What's coming between us, just in between the screen grid lines? That's where I love to listen. Where are we being guided? What's coming up for this conversation that I'm meant to integrate in some way into my life right now? I love listening for those kind of synchronicities.
Yeah, I love that. And then I think, okay, here's another question. I was just going to launch into it. Like, no, I'm going to put it as a question. So we know what we're like, why we're speaking our why, why Gather for Her. But now it's like, what do you think the challenge? Like, I don't mean challenge. Like, what does this content do? Like, challenge our audience. Like, what came up for me, what I'm excited about. Like, this really speaks to your work, Shar, about your people's relationship with fear or relationship with the unknown, and living on that edge of excitement of new, right? Doing something that, like, living into their highest self. I'm really excited about this time in history because organizations are they're being called to wake up, and they're being called to a bigger vision of their impact. And we have some guests on this season that come from more institutional, if you will, places of systems, like big business systems, and they're here on Gather for Her, and they're exploring relational ways of being. Like, I'm excited about that. I'm excited about those conversations. I'm excited about how challenging they might be. and the growth that's going to come as a result of that. Where does that take you?
I think we're seeing a shift. You know, we've talked about that relational leadership, that heart-centeredness, that human approach. And it's like there's an awakening to it, and I get really, really excited because I'm like, where's everybody been? And I don't say that in jest or condemnation or negativity, but it's just been so strong for me for so long. And I think there's an awakening, like you say, and an awareness to we have to shift and we have to do different. And again, coming back to, I don't know why craving keeps coming up today, but there is a craving for different. There is a craving and a desire for humanness and that approach. And so I think as individuals, whether they come to us from their own personal perspective or from a corporate lens or a leader lens or a management lens, it's showing and displaying a way to be authentic and vulnerable, to get to that approach, which just it's where we need to shift to.
You said crave, authenticity, vulnerability. What comes to mind for me is I invited somebody to a gather session. Someone I met, a woman I met at a leadership conference, and she was blown away by, like, I don't know what she thought she was coming into, but because we don't do small talk here. Like, I don't know what she was expecting, but she was pleasantly surprised that we went deep right away, and so there she was, being vulnerable and being authentic, and she stated that the the groups that she's been a part of in the past are not like this, and so it was definitely something that took her by surprise, but she also said it's so needed in her life, and she can see that in other of her colleagues and friends' lives as well. So I think of that, and then of course the craving again. People just crave to be seen, be heard, be known, and that opportunity lies in our sessions.
Just to echo what you said, Sharon, I love the bold, brave conversations that we welcome, and we're cross sector for sure. From entrepreneurs to politicians, from social impact organizations to industry. And one of my favorite Gather for Her episodes, and I have to touch back on it because it just left such an impression that I want to reach out to her again, but was with Marina Goglovac, who at the time led Canada Helps and has since made another leadership transition. But I so appreciated how authentic and her stories, and she deeply touched me in that conversation. So when thought leadership goes deep and gets brave and comes at a soul level, you realize that it doesn't matter, where someone is from, where you might be different, because soul to soul, you definitely see each other. And I just remember being in tears in that conversation, because she just really, really touched me. And I hope we get to have her back. And that's thanks to Gather, right?
She's one of my favorites too, Char. That was a very deep, meaningful conversation. And I think what came through for me in that one is what it actually looks like to be a change maker. And in the stories that she told, I really, it almost like it set the stage for where we are now. Like as a leader, she lives relationally. And yeah, I'm just going to put some questions out actually for all of our listeners, because this is our first 2023, conversation. We don't have a guest. We're it today. So you're our guest, I think. I think that's what that means. You're our guest today. And so some of the themes that have just come up here are cravings and bold, brave conversations and relational leadership. So I might ask of you to consider and maybe pop it in the chat. What are you craving this year in the way that you lead? What are you craving in the leadership that is around you? Let's name some of that, because that's part of the change that you're moving forward by naming that craving. And to Char's words, what are some of the bold and brave conversations that you're ready to have this year, or even not ready to have, but want to have them anyway? What might that be? And then another thought, where are you right now in your relational leadership process? And maybe we can speak to that a little bit here and share our ideas about that. And the way I gauge where I am in my relational leadership process is how long can I hold an awkward pause without agenda to fix anything? Another way I gauge my relational leadership ability is how much of the room am I allowing myself to hear without a response? Those are some of mine. I'm sure I have other ones, but those two come to mind. What comes up for you when you think, like, how do you gauge where you are in your relational leadership process, you three? How easy it is to deal with me? No.
Well, it's interesting because there's relational leadership with self and relational leadership with other. So, with my teacher right now, it's all about, heal yourself to be of service and healing others. So for me, relational leadership always starts with not from me, through me. And we talk, this season with Hillary Sampson, and just little practices of asking for guidance, inner guidance, and trusting. So relational leadership first and foremost is how brave can I be? How connected am I to what is beyond what I can see? Am I taking the time to connect in with ancestors on a daily basis? And do I ask for help beyond this physical realm? Because quite honestly, I've done all the other kind of leadership already. I've already played that game. In terms of the typical traditional leadership. And now I want an expanded form of relational leadership with myself, with those around me that I can see and that I cannot see. And when I tap into that, then I can get a little bit closer to the types of things that you're saying, Tina. Absolutely, I can practice and fail and practice. But first and foremost, it's, am I a conduit? Yeah.
For myself, I'll say that very similar to you, Shar. I'm tapping into my intuition and really trying to, like, when we're talking relational leadership to myself, just tapping into myself and really trying to listen. I mean, I just had it the other day. Somebody asked a question and I was going to say this, and then I changed and I said that. And then when we talked further, I said, oh, I was going to say that. And she says, you should have followed that, Sharon, you know that. And I'm like, yes, I do. Thank you for the reminder. So it's a constant. and not berating myself for it either, because we are our own worst enemies, right? So just being gentle with myself, and realizing that, it's a process. It's a daily process, and so following my intuition on a daily basis, and then on a larger scale, dealing with others, with a team, or staff or anything like that. It's trying to relax into more of a permissive style of leadership, because I don't profess to have all the answers. I want to be more of a leader that is a guide, as opposed to someone that is dictatorial or anything like that, because that's not my style. But just relaxing more into whatever is in front of me, and that'll go for everything, including myself. But yeah, that's how I am trying to better myself.
I think, when you ask the question, where are you in your relational leadership process? For me, right away, too, it came up to self. In working with others, being able to see their strengths, where they add value, diving in to pull their value, and guide them in that journey, is something that comes to me just naturally. It's just been there, right? And creating an empathetic approach to listening and holding space for them, and seeing them for where they're at. I think that's really important, right? Meeting others where they're at. However, I have to remember to meet myself where I'm at. And I think over the years, I have failed to do that. And really, over the past couple of years, I'm starting to do it better. There's a long way to go, and I think in any leadership, it doesn't matter with self or others. There's always room for improvement, and there's always room for growth. However, you ask, can you hold space in a room that for the uncomfortable? That takes some self work too, right? In growth and in change, and in that self leadership perspective, it's getting comfortable with the uncomfortable of where we are at, and that tuning in. That that we talk about the path, we talk about where we are in the path, and accepting that we are in the place of the path we are meant to be. I have an absolute true affirmation for that, and believe in that completely. However, Sharon, you kind of talk about, I was going to say this, and I pulled myself back, allowing that judgment of what we think others may feel, or what's going to come at us if we say that, or if we choose to go in a direction on our own, is really important. And I think in all levels of leadership, we have to allow ourselves to be vulnerable and honest with self and others, and allow it to come back to us as well. Tina, anything that sparks there?
Yeah, I'm actually just looking at Char's question. She's like, "Oh, well, yeah, let's bring that one into the space." You want to give that to our listeners, Char?
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious, like for each of you as well as for listeners, like if there was one brave or fun conversation, because for me, 2023 is very playful. If she was going to be a friend, super playful, and light, and quick. Yeah, she's on the move, man. And so, just in terms of conversations, it's like, what's a conversation that you would love to dive into, either in Gather for Her or with a circle of friends? Like, what's that conversation that you're really craving right now?
Okay, before we go there, I just need to laugh with you for a second, because when you said fun, light, and quick, I was like, oh my gosh, like those are the ingredients of a char soup. like a char
Oh
siu,
yeah,
fun, light, and quick.
so fun. Yeah, let's go.
And then I
On the
remember,
tricycle again.
come on, what are you doing? Come on. And it reminded me of this story as I was getting to know you, where your partner Ben was telling us about, yeah, she's all serious here, but oh no, we play whatever, I don't know what he was at, he pretend shot you and you did a big fake death or something in your living room. And I remember the first time he told me that story, it was like, oh my gosh, I couldn't even imagine you doing that. And now that I know you, I'm like, oh yeah, there it is. So I love fun, light, and quick. And yeah, that's a great question. I don't have an answer for you because I don't tend to go fun, light, and quick, but that's probably my growth edge this year. Fun, light, and quick. I'm going to pass. I'll come back because I don't have it present right now. Anybody else got something inside of you about a brave, fun conversation?
Well, I like to, me, I'm just a big jokester. So automatically I go, okay, I'd love to have a conversation with whomever is in the conversation, where we, favorite comedian, where we poke fun at ourselves. I think that would be awesome. Yeah, see, Tina thinks it's a great idea. I think it's a great idea. So let's do it.
They often talk about, I know so many people who in their own growth journeys have done stand up. They've gone and taken classes on kind of that perspective of stand up.
Yeah.
Right?
The ad lib or whatever.
Yeah.
What is that called,
Right?
Tina? What is that?
Are you talking improv?
Improv.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
right?
bless your beautiful socks, you too.
And I'm like, oh my God, you are wow, really? Like that takes courage. But doesn't it? Because it allows us to, I think, jump into those conversations and to be quick on our feet and to have some fun and to poke fun itself, and to just stop this a lot of times from that spin and that cycle of self-judgment. And yeah, I often get stuck in that, and I can't imagine doing the improv, but maybe it's something we need to do more and have some fun.
You had me at poke.
What comes up for me is I'd love to take a gather for her on the road, and I would love to interview two things. A female sports team and a girl band. Because what I'm most interested to dig into, like where I'm super curious, is, as you guys know, like the glue that runs between us. I just want to listen for the glue. I'm most interested to have a conversation about, like a really high functioning, performing. And I don't mean that from the traditional like definition, but I mean interconnectivity in action and just watching it. And you get to experience that. Like Tina knows from drama and, from singing, when you can actually live in that. I think it'd be so fun to have some of those interviews, experiential interviews about that glue that runs between us. That'd be so fun.
I think it sounds like roadshow to me. But I hear that. And you see that in especially sports teams, right? That knowing, that tuning into each other's small signals and really paying attention to that common goal and being able to adjust rapidly. And I think there's a lot of learning in that, in terms of leadership in organizations, right?
Okay, I think you just gave us something to do this year, Shar. Like what I just saw in my head was yeah, I just saw Gather for Her on location somewhere with whoever the guest is. Um and and mostly it wasn't even about the guest, because to me that's the easy part. To me, the beautiful part about Gather for Her isn't just this, it's actually the wisdom circle that happens after this, because it's in the wisdom circle where community is made. And I thought, wow, so what if we went somewhere, had the guest, but then we had the in-person wisdom circle? We had that gathering. So there, maybe we're manifesting a 2023 goal we didn't even know we had. And I'm just going to say it's 6 locations in 2023, 6 in-person Gather for Her events with an in-person wisdom circle. Just saying, that'd be fun. Huh. Doesn't feel brave to me, but it feels fun. The brave part for me that came through before I said that was, and I don't even know, it's still formulating, so I don't know exactly what it is, but we had a conversation with Vanessa L'Esperance, who is one of our partners with the Lift Collective in Powerhouse, and we were to uplift Indigenous entrepreneurs. And I was there in the opening circle, and in the opening circle, so they're all Indigenous women. She was talking about the laughter of Indigenous women, and as an Indigenous woman herself, and one of the teachings I am so grateful to receive by being around Indigenous people is laughter, and is the lightness of touch that I don't come to naturally. I laugh, I have joy, but lightness of touch doesn't come to me naturally. And so the brave thing for me, I just thought, who are the heaviest people I can get into the room to explore light laughter? And I don't even know how to get there, but that popped into my head today.
Heaviest as in weight? Sorry, I just had to.
Could be both. Could be all sizes, but heaviest as in, like, I consider myself a heavy person. I walk very comfortably with grief. I know you get me, but
you know what's so interesting about what, like, saying that is, I find I take it upon myself to try to make the most unlikely people laugh. And yeah, like I actually take it up as a challenge. So when you're talking, yeah, like typically it's older white males. And I'm like, I wonder when the last time they had like a really good, and I'll just tease it until and just to see if I can. And so I resonate with what you say. We are coming to the end of a dark, heavy chapter, and the world needs lightness and laughter and hope and possibility. And I think that is probably the energy we're picking up on.
Which comes to my word for 2023, reverence. Reverence. And so that also, I don't have a favorite Gather for Her session, but I do have a favorite Fire Circle session, and that was our theme was reverence, and we need to. I feel that the world needs to live in reverence. I certainly myself, my world is so much richer. It's much, I feel alive when I live in reverence.
I think you're giving us a really beautiful way to close this conversation, Sharon, which is, why don't we close this conversation with our wish for our listeners this year, or Gather for Her, is what? I'll start. First off, I just want to say to all of you who join us every week, just thank you for believing in change and positive change. And Thank you for that. It lifts me, and I hope I lift you. So my wish for all of us this year is a wish of bubbly connection, bubbly, effervescent connection between us. That's my wish for all of us. And I'll pass to anybody ready? Shall I pass to Kelly? Okay.
Yeah, I think it just when you said that, it went back to Char's conversation and to this. It's about light. And I think in 2022, in different circles, and you were all a part of it, and many of our listeners and our viewers today are part of those conversations. It's about looking for the crack and the light in the crack. And you know what I want? I just want that frickin' crack to bust alive for each and every person, because you're right, we're heavy. And in the last months even of 2022, there was a lot of heavy amongst the people I worked with and was in circle with. And that crack just kept coming. So let it bust open and shine some goodness and some warmth and some just beautiful smiles and heart-centeredness on people.
I can jump in. I would say my wish would be, may you feel that you are absolutely taken care of, and that the gift of life is meant to be lived so fully. And just remember, just remember, may you feel taken care of so that you can remember.
And so, like I said, with reverence, there's something that you have said in the past, Char, and that is expect magic in every interaction. And I really, when you look through the eyes, when you try to look through the eyes of a child, I mean, everything is magical to them. And so if you can do that, like I wish for everyone in 2023 to be able to see the possibilities in everything. See the possibilities.
Beautiful. Thank you, Sharon. And thank you, all of you. We're going to wrap up this circle of Gather for Her, our first episode of 2023. And if you're new to this, you're like, wow, who are these people? I Gather for Her is a Powerhouse Masterclass series, and we unpack what it means to be a relational leader in these unprecedented times of global change. We want you to know that we're here every week, every 2 weeks in LinkedIn, and then we gather in our community of practice called the Leader Path to unpack all of this. And this conversation has been recorded and will be shared on our YouTube channel, and again as a podcast named The How for Her, so you can listen to it again and again. Hopefully, have a giggle with us. And Gather for Her is hosted by Powerhouse, where we walk beside leaders to amplify your change work as you walk your path of whole leadership, guided by relational leadership practices and Indigenous wisdom. We want to thank our impact media producer and sister company, Regen Media. That's Charlene SanJenko here, who reminds us that we can take the power of media into our own hands when we support stories that heal, regenerate, uplift, and transform. And we always want to remember the hands at our back, Powerhouse and Regen's digital storytellers, Zoe Gray, Madeline Archibald, and Willow Smith. Many thanks to all of you, all of our co-hosts, as Sisters in Change, the now expanding braid of Powerhouse, Charlene, Christina, Sharon, Janet, who's joining us, and now Kelly as well. And to all of you, our listeners, and our community of change makers, leaders, and social impactors, thank you for walking with us and allowing us to walk with you in co-creation of the world that we're living into together. So let's keep connecting in 2023 as we bring this roadshow to bring it. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks here live on LinkedIn, and join us on the Leader Path. You can find out more about that at powerhouse.com. Happy 2023, everybody.